try to be amused, but since the wings have got rusted, you know the angels want to wear my red shoes, but when they...
Juan, you know, it's sort of, you were talking before about people turning things into football games, and I kind of feel like in some respects that's how the American public, their imagination has been really captured, I think, by the revolution in Egypt. Half of them very inspired by it, and a substantial number of them very frightened by it. I'm just wondering, what do you think the long-term implications of this will be in the Middle East, regardless of how it turns out?
Well, it seems clear that the order that sustained the Middle East and American relations with the Middle East from about 1978 forward is now in doubt. And American power in the region was premised upon unstinting American support for Israel, a behind-the-scenes unstinting support for Saudi Arabia, and a firm security alliance with Egypt. And the way that the Washington elite, I think, saw this triangle was that two-thirds of the world's proven petroleum reserves and about half of the world's natural gas are in the Persian Gulf region. Those supplies are key to the prosperity of Western Europe, Japan, to some extent now the United States itself, keeping them flowing, keeping them on the world market in sufficient quantities that the price doesn't become prohibitive, with sufficient regularity that the capitalist economies can benefit from cheap energy, is part of what the American empire is about. And the Saudis cooperate in that, the Egyptians cooperate in that, and the Israelis represent themselves as the West's secret weapon in making sure that everything goes smoothly because they're kind of fortress Israel in the Middle East. Although that last part of it, could be queried because it's not entirely clear how exactly, practically speaking, the Israelis have anything to do with oil security in the Gulf. But in any case, that's the way that it's often presented. Of course, 10% of the petroleum supplies do go through the Suez Canal, the security of which is guaranteed by Egypt and to some extent Israel. So that order is unnatural. It requires, a feudal, religious, absolute monarchy in Saudi Arabia. It requires a police state in Egypt. And it requires an expanding and aggressive Israel that's taking the land of Palestinians, keeping them stateless, and occasionally engaging in punitive wars on them, as well as on neighbors like Lebanon that object. So that order seems to be in doubt. Whatever comes after Mubarak seems to me a little unlikely to be as favorable to that order as what the Americans now have. And so it seems to me the position of the United States in the Middle East will be weakened. The position of Israel may well be severely put in doubt because it may well be that the new government in Egypt, whatever it is, whenever it comes about, is not going to cooperate in things like the blockade of Gaza, is not going to stay silent while the Israelis continue to colonize the West Bank and to expropriate the Palestinians. And there may be fissures between a populist government in Egypt and, the Saudi Wahhabi monarchy. So things are on the verge of changing. This is like when the big glaciers break up in Antarctica. It's going to change the world.